Hi everyone, my name is Karis and welcome back to my corner of the internet where I talk about books and other things that I enjoy. Today's video is going to be epic, so I'm going to try and not talk too much because today I'm going to be unhauling 80 books. So originally I started doing this video as like a live unhaul with me sort of thing where I was taking you through all of my shelves and talking through and picking things off, but then my camera battery died. Then I looked at the footage and hated it. So we've sorted out the shelves now, we've pulled off what we're getting rid of, and I'm just gonna go through them quickly on camera. Some of these are ARCs, and I will say when it is an ARC, and I'm not gonna sell them. If people are interested in them for like the cost of whatever postage would be, then just send me a message on Twitter or Instagram. My links are in the description and you can have them basically, because I don't need them anymore. I don't really know what to do with them other than sending them to people who want them. So yeah, please let me know. I would be more than happy to do that. Other than that though, I've been talking long enough. I've got 80 books to get through. Let's just get talking about them. So first of all, I've got The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. This is a proof that I got at Yalc. Haven't read it. My friend Anna has already claimed this one though, so this one will be going to her over the next couple of days. Then I've got The Truth and Lies of Ella Black by Emily Barr, which is also a proof that I got at Yalc, and another one that I haven't read, although I did somewhat like Emily Barr's first book. I'm just never going to get around to this. Next, I've got The Lost and Found by Kat Clark. I have read one Kat Clark book before, but I'm also unhauling that. I didn't love it. Next is Haunt Me by Liz Kessler. This is another proof, another one that I haven't read. You're gonna see a trend here because I was awful with getting proofs from Yalc and not reading them. Like terrible, and I feel really bad for past me for being like that. So I'm not condoning like getting loads of proofs and not reading them. I mean, I did read some of them, but you will see from this unhaul how many I didn't read. In my defense, I really enjoyed Liz Kessler's other book, Read Me Like a Book, and I do actually still have that one. It's one that I decided to keep, but I think this one is about like ghosts. I mean, as the title would suggest, and that's just not my sort of thing, and I think someone else will probably enjoy it more. Next is The Fallen Children by David Owen. Again, it just doesn't seem like my sort of thing, although I did love these covers where there was like loads of different colours for this bit. Then is How I Live Now by Meg Rossoff. Just another one that I'm never going to get around to. I think I read a couple of Meg Rossoff's other books when I was a lot younger, but now I'm just not that bothered. Then we've got Consumed by Abby Rushton. Again, this is another author who I've read one book from. I read a book called Unspeakable and I'm keeping that because I really enjoyed that one, but it's just not the sort of thing that I think I'm going to reach for based on the plot. Then is Memoirs of a Teenage Amnesiac by Gabrielle Zevin. I feel like this one was quite popular a while ago, but just not one that I'm going to reach for now. Next is Water in May by Ismay Williams. This is another proof. This one is about teen pregnancy, so a really interesting topic. I just can't see it ever being like really high on my list of things to read. Then is The Hate List by Jennifer Brown, which is about a school shooting, I think. I've read a couple of school shooting books in the past, but it's not really a topic that I really want to read about anymore. Next is The Big Lie by Julie Mayhew. This is like a reimagining as if World War II had gone the other way, so it's set in Nazi England 2014. I think there's an FF romance in this as well. I did enjoy it at the time, but I didn't love it. Next is The Sky is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson. I think I read this one. I can't actually remember which one of Jandy Nelson's books I read. I've read one of them. It might be the other one. Spoiler, I'm getting rid of both of them, so I think again someone else will appreciate having this more than me. I'm never going to reread it. Next is You Know Me Well by David Levithan and Nina LaCour. This one is signed as well. I didn't really like it. I think I gave it a 2 stars at the time, but yet still went and got it signed. Why? Next is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I know Neil Gaiman is a really popular author, but this one just confused me so much. I didn't have a clue what was going on, and I don't need a book that I don't understand on my shelves anymore. Next, I've got 2 books by Nikki Cloak, Close Your Eyes and Follow Me Back. These are both YA thrillers. I think I liked one of them and disliked the other, but I can't remember which one. Next is the other Kat Clark book that I mentioned, which was Girlhood. This one was set in a boarding school, and again I think it was just okay. I've kept hold of it for years because of the pink pretty cover, but I don't need to be keeping books around that I don't care about just for the aesthetic purposes, as nice as this one is. The Fandom by Anna Day, another proof. I'm sorry, I know, but I'm just not gonna read it. My Family for the War by Ansi Vorhover is about the war. I might keep this one. This is another one that I could go either way, but I bought this when I was going through a phase of reading so much World War II literature. It's still a period of history that really interests me, and probably the period of history that I know the most about, but I've just had this for so long and I've never ever reached for it. Another proof, what a surprise, Contagion by Terry Terry. I think this is signed as well, but this is like sci-fi. It's about, ooh, Infected. You are among the infected. An epidemic is sweeping the country. Wow, maybe I should read this. It might be so relatable. I don't really need it, do I? I've been living it for the past year. Next is Lumberjane's Unicorn Power, which is also an arc. I have read this one. I really enjoyed it, but I'm never going to reread it. And I have like the graphic novel of the first Lumberjanes, and I did prefer the story in that format as opposed to the written version. So I'm going to keep that and get rid of this. Next is The Way Past Winter by Kieran Millward Hargrave. I read this one in January this year and I found it just okay. I didn't love it, and I don't really want to get into a habit of keeping a load of books that I don't love. This is another one that Anna said that she would like, so I'm really happy that it's going to like a good home. I feel good with it going on to her, you know, so I'm happy to part with it now. Similarly to that is Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I know this is a really popular book and I did enjoy it. I gave it like 3.5 stars, I want to say. But I just know that I'm not going to reread it. And my friend Shah has also claimed this one now as well. So again, I'm glad that it's going to a good home. Then I've got Emily Barr's other book, The One Memory of Flora Banks. I kept this one because the author did an event in the Waterstones in Truro, and I went to university in Cornwall, and there was literally never events there. And because this author was Cornish or lived in Cornwall, she did a signing there and I went to it, and I think because I have that like cool memory associated with it, I've kept it for so long. I need to just keep the memory and remember that I'm still going to have that memory even without the physical book. Undone is another Kat Clark book. As I said, I'm not too bothered. Everless by Sarah Holland is another Yalk proof. I actually have no idea what this is about. The blurb says time is a prison, she is a key, alchemy, sorcery, blood, desire. Just doesn't sound like the sort of thing that I would reach for. The Memory Book by Laura Avery is another Yalk proof. Apparently this is about a girl who gets ill. Now she must figure out who she is. I read a lot of books that followed a similar premise to this a long time ago, and I don't really feel like I need to read any more now. Next is Lobsters by Tom Ellen and Lucy Iverson. I do have Freshers by them in my flat, which I am keen to get round to at some point, but I just don't see myself ever getting round to this one. It's like a romance sort of thing, I think, which again is not typically the sort of thing that I reach for anymore. Dear Charlie by N.D. Gomez is another proof. I think it's about someone whose brother died. It might be another like school shooting sort of book, so as I said, just not that keen on picking those sorts of stories up anymore. We may as well just power through the Yalk proofs with these next two. We've got Blackbird by N.D. Gomez. I think this is like a fantasy sort of thing. I actually don't know, but I just know that I'm never going to get to it. And also Replica by Lauren Oliver. I've kept this on my shelf for so many years because I feel so guilty about unhauling this, because I know that the year this was at Yalk, loads of people wanted it, and I feel really bad to have had it and like taken it from someone essentially and never actually got round to it. I thought I really wanted it at the time, but I know now that I was so caught up in the hype of getting things. I think it's time for me to part with this one finally. Next is The Third Twin by CJ Omalolu, which is a thriller. And I liked it at the time, but I know what happens now. I'm not going to read it again. Next is None of the Above by I.W. Gregorio. Again, I've read this one. I enjoyed it at the time, but it's another one I'm never going to pick up, and I think someone else could probably get more out of it than I could rereading it. Next is The Serpent King by Jeff Zentner, which came in an owl crate years ago. Kept it around because I heard some good things, but I really hate this cover. I know that's probably like a really petty reason to get rid of something, but just looking at it every time I'm like, that's such a horrible colour. And I also don't think the plot is really my sort of thing. I don't think it was at the time either. I said I was getting rid of both of Jandy Nelson's books. I'll Give You the Sun is also gonna go. The only reason I've kept this one around for so long is because it's so pretty. I love this cover, which is funny because I just showed a cover that I hated. But yeah, I don't need to keep it for the cover. Sorry if the lighting just changed or the angle. My optician just called me. How exciting. Miel and the Dying Girl by Jessie Andrews. I read when it was popular on BookTube and I felt okay about it, and I don't need to keep books that I just feel okay about. I feel like I've repeated myself so many times, so I apologise for that. Ask the Passengers by A.S. King is one that I was keen to read when I got it, but the longer I've had it, the more I haven't picked it up. I'm just not bothered anymore. This is the third one that I'm sending to Anna, so I hope that she loves all of the books that I'm sending to her and actually reads them, unlike me. The Call by Paida O'Gwillan is another Yalk proof that I just have no interest in anymore. They All Fall Down by Roxanne St. Clair is one that I bought when I was on my Pretty Little Liars hype, but I think this had like similar vibes. I just feel like it's going to be about really annoying, privileged, spoiled teenagers, and I'm not that bothered about reading about those characters. Then we've got Our Chemical Hearts by Crystal Sutherland, which is a proof that I think I won in a competition and haven't read it. Again, it's like a romance, not my sort of thing really. Then I've got The Deviants by CJ Scoose, another proof. I'm just awful. I think this is another like mystery, I think, like about like secrets and friendships and all that sort of thing. I just feel like I've read so many of this sort of thing. Everything Beautiful Is Not Ruined by Danielle Young-Ullman. I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it, so I don't feel like I need to keep hold of it. It was about like summer camp, so if that's the sort of thing that you're into, then Lying About Last Summer by Sue Woolman is another one that I enjoyed when I read it, but it's a mystery thriller sort of thing, so I just don't think I'm going to reach for it again, because I don't remember it, but I'm sure that when I start reading it I would put things into place and realize what actually happened. Editing Emma by Chloe Seeger. I didn't love this and have been keeping hold of it again because it's signed, but as I've said before, I don't need to do that if I didn't love it, and I think there are other books in this series and I haven't read any of the others and don't have any intentions to. And then I've got Fangirl, which I liked at the time, but again, I'm just never going to get round to it again. Then I've got Lies My Girlfriend Told Me by Julie Ann Peters. I've actually never really had anyone talk about it, but I think I kept it because it's short, but it's another one that's just been on the shelves for too long. Then we've got 7 Ways We Lie by Riley Redgate. I think I tried to start reading this one before and got about 30 or 40 pages in and gave up. So if that was 5 years ago when I was reading a lot more YA and I couldn't get into it then, I just don't think I'm going to be able to get into it now. Geek Girl Picture Perfect by Holly Smale I've decided to get rid of because I am just never going to carry on with the rest of this series now. I have kept the first 2 because I met Holly Smale at an event in Birmingham that was all about like feminism in YA or something along those lines, and it was the first time I met Holly Smale, Holly Bourne, and I met Anna James there as well actually, and that was like one of the best events I ever went to at the time. And I did read the first 2 Geek Girl books and I also got them signed and I enjoyed them, so I wanted to keep them, but I just thought there's no need for me to like be carrying on keeping the books for the rest of the series. Then I've got Born Wicked by Jessica Spotswood, which is witchy, which is why I picked it up, because I do like witchy sort of books. But it's a trilogy and I don't really do well with series in general. If I had the others then maybe I would have kept it and binge it, but I'm not gonna get the others, so I don't need the first one. Accident Season by Moira Fowley Doyle is probably one of the only other ones that I could be convinced to keep, because I feel like I've heard a few people talk about this one recently, but I feel like it's sort of dystopian-y. I don't read a lot of that anymore either, but if you've read this and you like it and you think I would like it, then let me know. I could be persuaded on this one. Then we've got Girl Out of Water by Natla Samer, which I bought at a Yalc because I saw her talk on a panel, but I knew at the time that I was probably not going to read it, and I was right. This is like a middle grade about a swimmer, I think. It's meant to be like comedy, which again is not something I typically reach for. Murder Most Unladylike by Robin Stevens I'm getting rid of because it's a duplicate, because after reading and loving this one I bought the whole box set, and obviously the first one came with that, so I don't need 2 copies of the same thing. Songs About a Girl and somewhere Songs About Us, the second book, I don't know where that is. Well, I'll show it quickly when I find it. But I'm getting rid of both of these. I actually really liked this one when I read it, which surprised me actually. It sounds so far removed from the sort of thing that would be something that I'd enjoy. But I never read the second one, and now I just know I'm never going to, because I would have to reread this one, and really now, even if I liked it at the time, I just can't imagine myself enjoying like teen boy band fiction nowadays. No Filter by Orla Collins is like a fun summer YA romance, but just something that I'm not bothered about anymore. The Girl in Between by Sarah Carroll is one that I read on holiday a while ago, and I think I gave it like a 2.5 or 3 stars, so I don't need to be keeping it. Ketchup Clouds by Annabelle Pitcher. I'm pretty sure I got this from a charity shop. I think it's about like someone who writes to someone in prison. I don't really know what more to say about it. I just don't need it anymore. Love Letters to the Dead by Ava DeLera was one of like the first popular booktube books that I ever read, and I liked it at the time, but I'm just never going to reread it. I don't think I would particularly love it now. Oh, we've only got 2 stacks left. If you could see the mess around me. Nice Girls Endure by Chris Struck-Bon. I did not enjoy this book. I really hated some of the ways that this talked about body and body image, and the way that it put, like, from what I remember, it put like specific numbers on to what the main character considered to be fat, which I just hated. I mean, I'm pretty sure I fell into the category where the main character was a bit like, oh, this weight is disgusting, like, and that was like lighter than what I was at the time when I was reading it, and I was like, Great, thanks. Vanishing Girls by Lauren Oliver. I read, liked somewhat, know the plot now, don't need, although I do really like this cover and that is probably why I've kept it for so long. The List by Siobhan Vivian. I have this one because I loved the Burn for Burn, is that what it's called? The trilogy with Jenny Han that she did. But this book that she wrote by herself, I didn't really enjoy it. And I think I've been keeping it because a lot of these hardback books I got on a trip that I made to Boston where my dad, it was just before my birthday, and my dad was like, pick out a certain number of books and we'll get them for you as like your big birthday present. And this was one of them along with some of the others, and I think that's why I've kept a lot of them, because I've just felt so bad about getting rid of them. Doing It by Hannah Witten I'm also going to get rid of. I think this was interesting at the time, although I think I wasn't really the target audience. It was better for a younger audience. I don't need it anymore. Secret Fire by CJ Doherty and Karina Rosenfeld I've kept for ages because it was at that same Feminism in YA event with Holly Smale etc, where I met this author and bought this book, and I've kept it for that memory. But as I said with the Emily Barr stuff, like I have the memory, I don't need the book as well. And even at the time, oh my god, a whole stack of books just fell over. But even at the time I knew that this wasn't my sort of thing, so I probably should just not have bought it. The It Girl by Katie Birchall, I think I gave 2 stars when I read it, so I don't need it. Soundless by Rochelle Mead. This was another one that I got in like an owl crate and don't need, wasn't really interested in it at the time, but thought, oh, maybe I'll give it a go because I've been sent it, but I never did. The Air by Kira Cass. I'm keeping the first 3 in the Selection trilogy because call those books trash all you want, but they were fun trash and I enjoyed them at the time and I want to keep them for that reason. But I never read the sequel and I have no desire to now. The Effort List by Julie Halpern is another one that I think I got on that trip that I mentioned to Boston, and I've been keeping hold of it for that reason. It's about like a teenage girl who's like terminally ill, making a bucket list, and I feel like, again, it's another one where I've read that plot so many times. Juniper Lemon's Happiness Index by Julie Israel is one that was like really popular one summer for Booktubeathon. I think it was like the group book, and I never read it for that, so I have no need to now. The Square Root of Slimmer by Harriet Reuter Hapgood. I think I gave this like a 3 stars, but probably I was being generous because I didn't really understand it. It was a lot to do with like maths, really complex things that I just did not understand. But the end pages on this are pretty. They've got like numbers on them. I think that is why I've kept it. Windfall by Jennifer E. Smith. I won this in like a Soap and Glory competition at Yalk, which is why it's got this big sticker on it that won't come off, and it's really annoying. I think I gave this one like a 3 stars as well. I didn't really love it at the time. Songs About Us by Chris Russell I already talked about, but I found it now. Before I Die by Jenny Downham. I think I've read this one, but this is another one about like terminally ill character making a bucket list, which I said I've read so many times before. There Will Be Lies by Nick Lake. I haven't read, but it just doesn't sound like my sort of thing anymore. The May Queen Murders by Sarah Jude. I got this one in a charity shop as well. This is another one that I could possibly be tempted by, but I just feel like there are so many other mysteries and thrillers that I have that I would prioritize over this. It's like right at the bottom of the pile. Big Bones by Laura Dockrill is another one that I think I thought was just fine. Tinsel by Cheval Pounder. I read this one last Christmas and I liked it, but I don't think it's one that I'm going to reach for to reread every Christmas, so I just think someone else would appreciate having this story for next year more than I would. The Duff by Cody Keplinger. Again, never going to read it. I've never even seen the film. Will Grayson and An Abundance of Catherines by John Green, and this one is also by David Levithan. I kept looking for Alaska Paper Towns and The Fault in Our Stars just because they have like a real sentimental value to me, but these two I was not that bothered about at the time. This one I probably liked more so, but I think I'm okay with parting with it. And Abundance of Catherines is probably the first 1-star book that I ever gave. I just did not like this book at all, and I don't know why I've kept it for so long. Well, I do. I kept it because it looked nice to have all of the books together with like the same, you know, font on the spine and stuff, but that's a stupid reason to keep something that you hated. And Some Right I'm Pretty by Janie Han I'm getting rid of. I'm keeping the To All the Boys series, the books of those that I have, but this one I didn't like as much as that, and I don't have the others in the series, so I don't need like the first book that I'm not going to carry on with. Please Ignore Vera Dietz by A.S. King. I apparently included this in like my top 10 books of like 2014 or something, but I really don't think it made that much of an impact on me because I can't really remember it. As with a lot of these, I'm just never going to pick it up again. And finally, Like Other Girls by Claire Hennessy. I didn't really like this when I read it, and I'm never going to reread it, as with many of these. And that is 80 books unhauled and off my shelves. I feel like I've been talking for hours, so I don't know how long this video is going to be. I'm going to be putting these on my Depop, so definitely look over there if you want them. If any of the arcs that you want, just message me and we can sort out with paying for postage. And do definitely let me know if you would be interested in seeing a bookshelf reorganisation video now that I've freed up so much room. Other than that though, that is it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're all keeping safe and staying well, and I will see you again next time. Bye!